Okay, let's continue. I will share my presentation once again. And now, during this first part of my presentation, I presented to you the business model and the business model canvas as the first visual business tool for developing new business models, but also for analyzing existing business models. I presented to you the business model canvas, the framework of the business model canvas, and you see that the main advantages of this tool is that it's very simple. This is the tool which everybody understands. It's with this tool, entrepreneurs can very easily define and communicate the business idea. Also, this is the tool which is useful not only for entrepreneur, but also for his stakeholders, investors, customers. And I presented to you the business model canvas framework, and we saw that the first block, which is recommended to be filled when starting to create a business model by this tool, is the customer segments, which defines the specific groups of people or individuals that entrepreneur aims to reach and serve. A business model canvas can define one or several big or small customer segments. For Nespresso, we have one customer segment consistent of people from high and higher middle class, technology oriented. But in the case of Zara, we have three distinct customer segments: men, women, and children. We talked about the value proposition, which is the second block of the business model canvas, which is recommended to be filled. And we said that the value proposition is what distinguishes entrepreneur from its competitors. The value proposition, please remember, it's very important to remember that the value proposition is the bundle, the benefits that entrepreneur offers to each customers in order to meet their needs or in order to satisfy their needs or to solve their problems. So let's see on the example of Nespresso and Zara, how they define their value proposition. For Nespresso, it's a perfect espresso without any sort of hassle. So you can see in this sentence the benefits that Nespresso offers to each targeted customer segment. In the case of Zara, value proposition include three main elements. Fast fashion. Zara offers new products every 3 or 4 weeks on the market. The second element of Zara value proposition is great e-commerce experience and localized stores. So Zara offers various ranges of stylish men's, women, and children's clothing and accessories at an affordable price. What is this in this sentence, affordable price? That is the example for the quantitative value proposition. We said that the value proposition can be quantitative, like price, but also the value proposition can be qualitative, like overall customer experience. So this is the second block of the business model canvas. We are still on the right side of the business model canvas. And now we will talk about channels. Now we will talk about two segments of the business model canvas, which role is to connect customer segments and value proposition to help entrepreneur to deliver its value proposition to the identified customer segments. So let's see, what is the task of this third block of the business model canvas? To show how do customers want to be reached. Understanding how to reach customers is crucial for the business of entrepreneur. And this segment, this block of the business model canvas actually describes how entrepreneur communicates with and reaches its customers in order to deliver value proposition. Channels describes how customer comes into contact with our business and how he becomes a part of our sales cycle. So here is very important to give the answer first on three questions. How are we going to tell our customer segment about our value proposition? We define the value proposition, but how we'll introduce our value proposition to our customers? And the second question, to which channels do our customer segments want to be reached? And if the business is already established, then we will ask to ourselves, how are we reaching our customer now? This means, where are they? What are they doing? Are they at social media? Are they driving their cars and listening to the radio? Are they at some specific event, at some specific conference? Do they watch TV in some specific part of the day? When we give the answer on these three questions, it's very important to think about how our channels are integrated, which channels work the best, and which channels are the most cost efficient. Communication, distribution, and sales channels comprise a company's interface with its customers. And here, entrepreneur must think and summarize the way in which he will interact with its customers. What does it mean? Is it going to be a physical channel like stores, or is it going to be a digital channel like mobile applications, cloud, website, or is it going to be their combination, which is very usual? Also here we must give the answer on the question how we are reaching our customers directly through our own people or indirectly through our key partners. Channels serve various functions like raising awareness among customers about the company's products and services, helping customers evaluate a company's value proposition, allowing customers to purchase specific products and services, delivering a value proposition to customers, and providing a post-purchase customer support. So these are 5 main functions of the channels. So let's see on the example how Nespresso and Zara identify their channels. For Nespresso, this is Nespresso Stores, official website, and retail partners. But in the case of Zara, Zara has 3 primary channels in which they communicate and deliver products to its customers: direct sales, online, and social media. The next block of the business model canvas is customer relationships. So here, entrepreneur must think and must show how he is going to establish and maintain a relationship with its customers. So he must think how he will build, but also how he will grow these relationships. This block of the business model canvas describes types of relationships a company establishes with its customers. And the customer relationships is defined as how a business interacts with its customers. Does entrepreneur meet his customers directly or over the phone or online or in some combination of this? So here the task for the entrepreneur is to define what type of relationship he will establish with each identified customer segment. So he must think about which customer relationships has he established in the past, how costly are they, how are they integrated with the rest of the business model. And also here we must show how are we reaching customers and convincing them of the value we offer. How are we attracting customers' attention? How are we building customer trust? I said that it is very important here for entrepreneurs not just to build, but also to grow those relationships. Also, how are we enabling customers to experience our product? And how we are helping customers to take actions to buy, and how we are helping customers to remember and recommend our product. So let's see on the example how Nespresso and Zara creates their customer relationships. In the case of Nespresso, Nespresso establishes relationships with its customers through Nespresso Club and by building a one-to-one in-person relationship with customers who buy a device for individual use. Zara's relationship includes three types of relationships. Salesperson at store. This is the one-to-one relationship in person. Then through brand and by sentimental attachment to a product. We are still on the right side of the business model canvas. We identified our customer segments, defined the value proposition. We choose channels and defined types of relationships that we will establish with each customer segment. But now we have one more block of the business model canvas, which is on the right side of the business model canvas, and that's the revenue streams. Here we must say, we must show where the money comes from. If you remember from the beginning of our presentation, when I defined the business model, I said that it's very important to remember this definition of the business model, and that is that a business model describes how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. So this fifth block of the business model canvas, called revenue streams, is very important. It shows how we capture our value. So let's see what we have to define in this fifth block of the business model canvas. We must show where the money comes from. And this block of the business model canvas represents a cash that entrepreneur generates from each customer segments. So this block of the business model canvas is defined as the way by which our business convert our value proposition to financial gain, to financial profit. Here, we must give the answer on 3 questions. For what value is each customer segment really willing to pay? How are they currently paying, and how would they prefer to pay? So if customers comprise the heart of any business model, then revenue streams are its arteries. And there are 2 types of revenue streams. Revenues resulting from one-time customer payments, and revenues resulting from ongoing customer payments to provide post-purchase customer support. We can see how Nespresso and Zara earn money, how they generate cash from their customer segments. In the case of Nespresso, they use 2 types of prices. The low prices for the sale of coffee machines and a high price for the sale of coffee capsules. Zara makes money by selling clothes and accessories either at store or online, but they choose to use prices for their products which are below the market price. And you can remember when we talk about the value proposition, we said that Zara offers various ranges of stylish men's, women's, and children's clothing and accessories at an affordable price. So now we can see that their marketing strategy is to offer their products which prices are below the current market prices. Now we finished with the right side of the business model canvas. We give the answer on the question, what entrepreneurs do? And we filled 5 blocks of the business model canvas: customer segments, value proposition, channels, customer relationships, and now revenue streams. So we finished this right side of the business model canvas, which focuses on the customers, the external focus. We see that without profitable customers, no company can survive for a long period of time. So because of this reason, we start from the right side of the business model canvas to see what entrepreneurs do or want to do. And now it's time to move to the left side of the business model canvas to see what we need internally in order to deliver value proposition to the identified customer segments. So now our focus is on the left side of the business model canvas. Our focus is on the business. We have now internal focus. We must see what we need, what resources, activities, partners do we need in order to deliver this value proposition to our identified customer segments. So now we will talk about 4 segments of the business model canvas: key resources, key activities, key partners, and the cost structure. One more, when we create business model by this tool, always start from the right side and then move to the left side of the canvas. So next block of the business model canvas is key resources. So here the main task of entrepreneur is to identify the most important assets required to make a business model work. So This block of the business model canvas describes the most important resources which is needed to sustain and support the business. The most important assets, the most important resources that are necessary to create value for our customer segment. So we must see what resources are necessary in order to create, to offer products or services in order to meet needs of our customers or to satisfy their or to solve their problems. So every business model requires key resources, and here is very important to give the answer on 4 questions. First, what key resources do our value propositions require? What key resources are needed in order to deliver our value proposition, in order to create our value proposition? And we know that we defined value proposition in the 2nd block of the business model canvas. Then we must see what key resources we need what key resources do our distribution channels require, and distribution channels are the 3rd block of the business model canvas. Then what key resources do our customer relationships require? We define these customer relationships in the 4th block of the business model canvas. And the last question, what key resources do our revenue streams require? Revenue streams are the 5th block of the business model canvas. So now we must see what key resources are needed in order to create and offer our value proposition, in order to target markets that we want, in order to maintain relationships with our customer segments, and in order to earn money. And these resources could be intellectual, physical, human, and financial. So here we just have to give a snapshot of intellectual property, like patents. You talked about patents today, trademark, physical holdings, equipment, buildings, offices, human capital, entrepreneurs, employees of the company, and finances, the cash flow. So we can see that key resources help entrepreneur to create and deliver value, to target markets, to maintain relationship with customers, and to earn revenues. Also, different key resources are needed depending on the type of a business model. And these key resources can be owned by the entrepreneur, but also they can be leased by a company, or they can be acquired from key partners. So let's see key resources for Nespresso and Zara. Nespresso has 3 key resources: a strong brand as intellectual resource, employees and manufacturing facilities, while in the case of Zara, key resources are strong brand, management, network of physical stores, and logistics and supply chain infrastructure. So we finished with this block of the business model canvas, key resources, but now we must see our key activities. The next block of the business model canvas is key activities, where our task is to give a snapshot what we are doing. This block of the business model canvas describes the most important things entrepreneur must do in order to make that business model work. So this block of the business model canvas shows the most important activities in executing the company's value proposition. Questions on which we must give the answer here are very similar to the questions of the block key resources. Now we ask ourselves, what key activities do our value proposition require? The second block of the canvas. What key activities do our distribution channels require? That's the third block of the business model canvas. What key activities do our customer relationships require? The fourth block of the business model canvas. And what key activities do our revenue streams require? The fifth block of the business model canvas. So we can see that every business model calls for a specific key activities. And like in the case of key resources, key activities helps entrepreneur to create and deliver value proposition, to target markets, to maintain relationships with customer segments, and to earn revenues. Also, different key activities are needed depending on the type of a business model, and we can see key activities in the case of Nespresso and Zara. For Nespresso, key activities are capsules production and logistics, while in the case of Zara, manufacturing, design, retail process, and logistics. The next block of the business model canvas is key partners. Here, our task is to give a snapshot of people we work with. So, if we think that our business cannot achieve the value proposition alone, if entrepreneur can't achieve the value proposition alone, so here we can show who else do we need to rely on to do it. Who can help us to deliver our value, to create and deliver our value proposition to our customers. So this block of the business model canvas describes the network of suppliers and other companies that make that business model work. It's a list of external suppliers, companies that we may need in order to achieve key activities and in order to deliver our value proposition to the customers. So we can say that they are key partners to achieve value that our business promises to our customers. And here we must give the answer on 4 questions. Who are our key partners? What is the network of suppliers and others that makes the business work? Which key resources are we acquiring from partners? And we must analyze which key resources are the most expensive also. Which key activities do partners perform? There are 3 types of partners: strategic alliances developed between companies which are non-competitors, strategic partnerships which are developed between companies that are direct competitors, and joint venture which we can develop in order to start to create a new business. We can ask, what is the reason why we work with our partners? economies of scale. That means sharing resources and infrastructure. We can work with our partners in order to reduce the risk of our business, or we can work with our partners in order to ensure resources, skills, or activities, to acquire necessary resources, skills, or activities. We can see in the case of Nespresso and Zara, which are the key partners. Nespresso works with farmers, but also Nespresso developed partnership with Rainforest Alliance, which is the Chinese company which produces coffee machines. And Zara requires strategic partnership with many different providers if they are to design and produce their collection. So we can see in the case of Nespresso and Zara what type of partnership they developed in order to deliver their value proposition to its customers. And we are now at the end, at the last block of the business model canvas, which is very important. This block is the cost structure. So the final step of the business model canvas is to ask ourselves, how much is it going to cost to run this business model? Or here we just have to give a snapshot where the money goes. So when we talk about revenues, we give the answer on the question, where the money comes from, how entrepreneurs generate cash from the different customer segments. But now we are at the end of our business model canvas, and we must ask a different question. How much is it going to cost entrepreneur to run this model? Does he have money to implement this business model? So we must give a snapshot about where the money goes. This block of the business model canvas describes all costs incurred to operate a business model. And this block of the business model canvas is defined as the monetary cost of operating as a business. Here we must give the answer on 4 questions. What are the most important costs inherent in our business model? How much does it cost to achieve the value proposition for customers? How much does it cost to achieve key resources and key partnership? Here we must see what key resources are the most expensive and how much does it cost to achieve key activities. Which key activities are the most expensive? So we can see that creating and delivering value proposition, key resources, key partnerships, key activities, they all incur cost, and we must present a cost structure of our business in this last block of the business model canvas. And we can see the specific cost of Nespresso and Zara. Nespresso has 3 main groups of costs: production, logistics, and advertising cost, while Zara has 2 main groups of cost, and this is very usual when presenting this last block of the business model canvas, to divide cost on fixed cost and on variable costs. What are fixed costs? That are costs which don't depend on the sales volume, on the production, on the purchase of different incomes. And the typical fixed cost for Zara is, for example, rents, or wages for their employees, but also Zara has variable costs. That's the costs that depend on sales volume, production volume, on purchase of materials from suppliers. So the typical variable costs of Zara are manufacturing costs. And we finished with this lecture about the business model. We showed during this presentation how we can build good and strong business model by using the business model canvas, which is the first visual business tool, a shared language for developing not only new business models, but also for analyzing business models that are created. So we saw which blocks are the main of each business model. The first block, which is recommended to be filled, is the customer segments. And then we talk about value propositions, about the benefits that entrepreneur can offer to its customers. We talked about channels, customer relationships, revenue streams. We talk about key resources, key activities, key partnerships, which are necessary in order to create and deliver our value proposition to identify customer segments. And we finished our presentation and the business model canvas with the cost structure in order to give the answer to the question, how will cost to run this business model? Once again, it's very important not just to create a first version of a business model by this tool. It's very important to continue to every day modify each block of the business model canvas in order to find the best fit, the best product market fit, in order to create good and strong business model, which will help entrepreneur to make money, to generate cash from the different customer groups by acquiring and serving its customers. So I finished with my presentation. Is there any question, any comment?
I have a question.
Okay.
How are you incorporating environmental and social aspects, which are also important for
yes,
good product in the business model? Because we have two examples which raise some doubts if they are sustainable or socially sustainable.
Yes, thank you. That's the benefit of a business model. That's the value proposition of many companies. The value proposition doesn't have to be a price, a quantity, but it's very important to be a qualitative, to show these different aspects of the business, good positive external effects of our products. So we must put that and incorporate that in our business model. That's the key for the successful business model, to show that we are offering not just products with low price, but that we are offering the products that have a positive external effects, not only for our customers, but also for our community.
This is also something which you mean by adapting the business model, because I think Nespresso did this cooperation with Rainforest Alliance and cooperation with recycling only after the public pressure rose on them, because it was regarded very environmental unfriendly with all these capsule waste which couldn't be recycled.
So it's because of that, it's very important to modify business model and to include that effect into business model. So you recognize the benefits of each product or service that entrepreneur could offer on the market. And that's the competitive advantage of entrepreneur. Is that okay? Is there any more question or no?
I want to ask if this is a tool that it's free, or is it, do we need a kind of membership for it?
It's free. You can download the template from the internet for free and use it. You have at strategizer.com, so you will find very easily on the internet, and you can draw on a paper yourself also. You saw how the tool looks like. Okay, is there any more questions or comment? No? Okay, thank you for listening. I hope that that you now understand better what is the business model and how we can create the business model very easily, very quickly. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for your time and interesting presentation. Hope it was useful for our participants.
I hope.
Now it's planned lunch break, and we are going to continue 10 minutes after 2 o'clock. So bon appetit and see you soon.
I'm recording in progress, yes. I'm, as you have heard, Wensheng from University of Novi Sad, Faculty of Engineering, not Technical Sciences. That is a very bad literal translation from Serbian. Engineering, it is. I'm a professor for a long time. And since I have started teaching this creative problem solving method some 15 years ago, I have declared myself to be a bit crazy, but maximum proud of it. And so I hope that you're going to be crazy and maximum proud about it at the end of the lecture. And we'll see why. Now, I'll share my presentation. So it really is about creative problem solving, and I suppose that you already know something about it. And if you do, please just enter into discussions, tell me your thoughts about what is creative problem solving and why. Why do we have to solve problems creatively? So just feel free, be crazy, enter and say whatever you want. Ana Lopez, do you have some idea?
I haven't heard about this before, but what I think of is that sometimes when we want to be too structured, it can be more complicated. And when we just are spontaneous or creative, maybe it's better, the outcome.
Okay, so you have some ideas, and the good news for me is that you haven't heard already this stuff, so it's going to be new for you. Okay, first, why we are doing it? Well, today, economics is about innovations. And there is a very simple reason about it. That is, the world has gone global. The planet has become small. In the 19th century, if you wanted to advance your business, you just had to cover new markets. And then we got imperialism, going to another countries, et cetera, et cetera. But now everything is covered multiple times. And so you have competition. And competition means that you have to fight it. How can you fight competition? By lowering prices, naturally. But if you are lowering the prices, the competition is going to lower their prices as well. And then what is the end result? Well, the end result is that you stop when you come to your costs. And that means you earn nothing. You just work for peanuts just to survive. And if you want not to have competition so that your price, as you have heard in the last lecture, is based on the needs of the customer. You have your key customers, you want to satisfy their needs, and you want to earn money. The only way to do it is to really satisfy their needs so that they want to buy it and that there is no one who can do it. And that means you need to have an innovation that is a good idea and an invention that is a working prototype and an innovation, so a creative strategy of entering the market. So you have two types of creativity. One is technical, the other one is market innovation. And then combined, it is the profitable innovation that you are dreaming about. So it's from research and development and science and dreaming towards the world of money. And for some time, you can keep that monopoly. You can be the only game in the street. How? Well, you patent it and then you have 20 years protection by the law from any competition. Afterwards, you have to invent something new. And then you see that in the midst of the last century, this story started. And from the beginning of this century, it becomes the only game in the town. You see, the exponential rise of scientific publications and patent families based on them. Why? Because industry needs monopoly to have a profit. So, what is your goal in life? You're at your PhD studies. Well, to invent something new and to place it to the market and have that 20 years lab time to earn money. So now let us define what is creative. So Barbara, what is creative?
Creative maybe means out of the box and find some creative interdisciplinary solutions for new problems.
Well, yes, you have heard the out of box and you know that 9-dot problem, that is how it came about. Yes, everyone knows about the 9-dot problem, but no one knows how to use it in real life. So I hope I am gonna teach you how to use it in real life. Maybe I'm successful. So creative means to be able to imagine and to have new original ideas and create something that is to bring something new to the world. New is the world. And what's the second word? What is a problem? Michele, che cos'è un problema? Michele è qua? Non c'è. Okay, who is here? Sabrina is here. I see her picture. So I can't speak Dutch, sorry.
No, I'm not Dutch, I'm German. Yeah, I would say a problem.
You can see.
I would say a problem is some need in the society, for example, which currently, yeah, makes life difficult or, yeah, I don't know.
Difficulty, but how that difficulty comes about? Where is difficulty coming from?
From very different influencing factors. I mean, in our case, it's the problem that the environmental or the quality of water is deteriorating. And
I know the hype. I know the hype. Climate change, CO2 emission, migrations, etc., etc. Yes, that's a global problem. I'm not sure that you can solve the global problem, but you can solve problems locally. And you know the story saying, think globally, but act locally. Do what you can do, dreaming big dreams. So, well, I'll redefine the problem as a contradiction between resources. So you have something, for instance, this climate change. We want to be warm in our houses during the winter. We want to move around, we want to drive. And then we use fuel for both things, and then we pollute. We want to produce electricity, but for that we use coal. The majority of electricity in the world comes from coal, and coal is polluting at a very, very high rate. So it's a contradiction. You want something to get better and something else get worse. So creative problem solving means to resolve this contradiction so that one thing gets better and the other thing doesn't get worse. So it's very easy to go back in the caves and have no pollution whatsoever. But then 95% of us would have to die. We wouldn't like that. That would be another great problem. So how to keep our standard of life and still have environmentally friendly. So Sabrina, thank you for bringing this matter into my vision. That is a basic contradiction in our world today. It cannot be solved by going back to some previous solutions. It has to be something completely new. And now, what would you think that solving means, Danilo? Do you have an idea what is solving in this context?
Solving maybe is finding some compromise between the two sides of the contradiction in which you find some common point, something like that.
Compromise. Yeah. Well, sincerely, I wouldn't agree with the compromise, because compromise would mean that the end solution is not ideal. That you give something to get something, but isn't it better to get something and not give anything? And that everyone gets something and no one has to give. That would be a good solution. Compromise means, for instance, in this environmentally, we would reduce the consumption of energy and get less pollution. But for me, the ideal solution is no pollution, as much energy, free energy as we want. That would be a solution. But how to do it? Naturally, I see that Danilo is shaking.
Yeah, that sounds
like telling me it can't be done. I tell you, the only thing that can't be done is the thing that you think that can be done. If you think that something can be done, then it can be done. But if you think that it can be done, you will find a way. Well, if there is a will, there is a way. If there is no will, there is an excuse.
No.
So solving is an inquiry, starting from given conditions, a contradiction. And now we want to improve the situation that we have. So there is an initial stage and there is a final stage. Initially, we have a contradiction. Finally, we have no contradictions. And we want to improve the things in every basic point, not to improve something and make a compromise and make something else worse. No, we want to improve on every point, if possible. So now I have been mentioning resources. What are resources? A new word, a new term. So I see a company at ICRA, and they are having fun in the meantime, playing with their camera during breaks. Well done, because playing is a way to solve problems creatively. That was good. So what do you think, the four of you? What is a resource?
Edwin wants to reply.
I think that's something that we can use.
Like a tool.
Mm-hmm. Something we can use. Well, anything that we can use to solve the problem. Yes. So you were right. And another thing, anything that can be in contradiction with another resource. So when we are talking about contradictions to be resolved, and that is creative problem solving, we are talking about contradictions of resources. Anything can be a resource. You are a resource. I'm a resource. The computer is a resource. This lecture is a resource. The weather is today is resource. It's raining here, the COVID pandemic is a resource, a harmful resource, but a resource. Money can be a resource. Everybody thinks about money, but having ideas is a resource. Anything is a resource. Polluted air is a resource. Everything is a resource. Now, if we want to have a creative solution, we have to be creative. In order to be creative psychologically, what should apply to us? Do we have to be intelligent or diligent or knowledgeable or brave or crazy or a misfit, as Steve Jobs has stated in his famous Stanford introduction? You know, the misfits, the rebels, the round pegs in the square pegs in round holes, etc., etc. So, which of the six would you select? Someone who has been silent till now, who can be that? Nicoletta.
Yeah. So we have to choose just one or a combination of the six of them?
Well, if you really need, choose a combination, but
be creative.
One as well. So whichever you like, choose.
So if I recall the people that they have been creative over the centuries, they had a bit of craziness as well.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
And many people, they will say that they don't fit in the social community because they were isolated, but they were the ones that they invented the most important stuff for the humanity. So
which one is least, everything is important. Of these six, you need those six to be creative. Yeah. But yes, to be crazy is number one. And which one is number six? Which one is the least important?
To misfit?
Maybe intelligent.
I don't know.
I would say knowledgeable.
Intelligent.
Knowledgeable.
Yeah, well, because there are very creative people without too much knowledge at their disposal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that knowledgeable is the second last, but by far the last one is to be intelligent. To be creative and to be intelligent are not the same things. Some of the most intelligent people are not creative. Some of the most creative people are not intelligent, but there are very intelligent people who are very creative and very unintelligent people who are not creative at all. That is, creativity is about getting out of box. It's not about intelligence. Getting out of box is about bravery, about craziness, about being different, that is a misfit. Diligent and knowledgeable. Well, diligent means, you know, when you talk about innovators, the people usually think about Edison. And Edison told that creation is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That is working hard. He didn't believe in creative geniuses. He believed in hard work. And knowledgeable, yes, you need not be knowledgeable to start, but in order to make something good, you have to learn doing so. You have to collect some resources in order to do it. And now, where is my cursor? Here. There is an algorithm that you can find in any book about creative problem solving. And you know the algorithm from your experience. The first step is use both sides of your brain, the left and the right one. The left one, that is orderly, that is about logic, that is about language, that is about systematization, mathematical thinking. And the right one, that is about music, about arts, about colors. And you have to connect them. Usually I teach this course for 3 days, 8 hours, 24 hours in total. I have to do it in 1 hour. So we are not going to make some games how to connect those two parts of the brain, but you can find it on YouTube or somewhere else, how to use both sides of the brain. It's important to do it by yourself. Now, something that you have learned in elementary school, how to solve a problem. Well, first define the problem well. Don't start solving before knowing what your problem is. You remember it from your math teacher. And then you have to gather information, everything about the problem. And then you start searching for an idea. Oh, the idea, come back, come to me. And then it doesn't want to come to you. If the problem is simple, it's easy, the idea comes. But if the problem is not a simple one, never solved before, then usually the idea won't come to you. And the more you think about it, the less it is willing to come to you. And then the trick is focus on something else. Not stop thinking, don't go to sleep, but sometimes going to sleep. For instance, Mendeleev has found his periodic system sleeping, and before that, he was thinking about it. Focusing on something else is important. Why? Because when we are normally using 6% of our brain because we don't have enough energy for the rest of it. Our brain uses some 15 watts out of 60 watts that our whole organism uses. That is 25% of all energy in our body goes for servicing the brain. The brain uses this 15 watts even if you're sleeping all the time. Only when you're in a coma, it's 6 watts. It's 15 watts in a band, no modulation, it's fixed. So it's enough to activate about 6% of the brain. So you cannot use the other parts of the brain because you don't have enough energy. And so if you're using one part of the brain, you use all the sugar that is there, glycogen, and then you start repeating things on the same synapses and nothing new can be made. Thinking about something else, you go elsewhere and you wait until your blood system carries new glycogen to that used part, and for some false synapses to break and some new to be made by chance. Probabilistic or by chance, making something means creating information. I'm teaching information theory in my real life. So information is all about probability and chances, and creating is making something new. It's throwing a dice. So you let your brain throw some dice. And then the idea comes. And is it the solution? No, it's not the solution because you have not defined the problem well. 99% of cases, you have been solving the wrong problem. So was this all in vain? No, because this solution is another resource. You can reuse it now. Doing this cycle 5 times will lead you to the solution. So after going in this circle for 5 times, you are going to have a solution. The moment you are having the solution, believe me, at least 5 people in the world have the same solution. Now it is the action. Who is going to be the first to the market? And that is what you have learned in the previous lecture about entering the market, about making the business model, attracting finance, etc. So you have to be fast, because usually it happens if you are slow, somebody else, you think that they have stolen it from you. But no, it was just ready. It was in the air. You know, Newton didn't want to publish his calculus. And then what happened? Leibniz did. And then till the end of Leibniz's life, he died first, they were exchanging words that everyone understands, but that cannot be found in dictionaries, literally so. I see that Sabrina has raised her hand, but don't raise your hand, just interrupt and tell what you want. So, Sabrina.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, these 5 times iteration until you reach to the right solution, is it a law or is it just like something based on your own experience?
It is a statement by a man called Tadao Toyoda. You have heard about him, I suppose. We'll see about it a bit later. So it is not my experience. It is, no, sometimes it's 2 times, sometimes it's 3, maybe sometimes it's 6, but 99% of times 5 is enough. It's a bit less, but more than 5, usually it's not. So there is a technique called 5 whys that I'm alluding to. So the most important thing is get out of your problem, let your brain work unconsciously about it, come back to it, go there 5 times, and then be quick to realize it because someone else will do it. So when we want to solve a problem, what is the question, one word, that we pose to ourselves? What is the question that we are dealing with? Who has been silent till now? Edwin has. Edwin, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
You are. So,
can you please repeat the question?
aha, the question is, what is the question? My question is, what is the question when we want to solve a problem?
How? Did you understand?
No.
We want to solve a problem. So
what is your question?
My question would be how.
One word. Which
how?
word?
How.
How. Barbara, yes, it is how.
Thank you.
It is how. But it is the wrong question. Everyone asks oneself how, and that is blind straight.
TP is, it's the wrong question. Huh?
It's the wrong question to ask yourself how.
It's the wrong question. What should be the right question?
I will say how I will benefit.
How it would benefit.
Who is gonna be benefit?
It's not how to solve the problem, then it is, you remember, you had to define the problems well first.
Then what?
What?
What? Yes, what? What are you going to solve? Because otherwise you would solve the wrong problem. 99% of cases you are solving the wrong problem. That's why we have these 5 iterations, because we haven't sorted the problem well. We were solving the wrong thing. But in reality, this is the wrong question as well. What is the right question?
Why?
Why? Yes, why is the right question? Because some problems are not worth to be solved, or not worth to be solved by us. So why, and then what, and how is just the last one and not the first one. Usually we just jump. This is the problem. We jump and we are solving. We're not thinking about why we are doing it. We are doing it because we were told to. Never do what you are told to, but what your heart wants. Your heart knows better than your boss. So how to create? There are 3 ways of creation. One is copy a solution from other place, so copy it to your place. You have seen it elsewhere, do it here. You remember Vesna's lecture this morning? That is that basic level of ideation, just copying from somewhere else. It works 90% of time. The success rate is very high, but the profit is low because you already have the competition. You are the competition. So it is a small pond, lots of crocodiles, but a new crocodile on the rock. Okay. The next level is to modify. So now you're different. You're different than the one that you were being copying. Modifying, it is a new solution. But it is pretty obvious. It is pretty obvious. Anyone can make the same modification. So it means be fast, be fast. Because if you're not fast, you have been listening to the lecture about intellectual property protection. And then you remember, to copy, you would get an X. For modification, you would get an X or a Y, meaning that it is obvious. You knew the solution, it would be obvious to make that modification. So you cannot patent modify, but you can get, you can earn more money. So you are, for some time you would be the only one in the market. But the highest level is combination. Combination means use two or more previously uncombined things in a non-obvious way. And good solutions are always combinations. I would give lots of examples, but I don't have time. So I'll cut it here. So there is the fourth level, create out of nihil, ex nihilo. It has been done once, 13.7 billion years ago, but not by a human. So we cannot reach that guy, leave the creation to that guy, the absolute creation. So what we are copying, modifying, combining, resources, detected resources. So obviously it's easy to be creative. And you have been creative when you were little kids, but then it has been lost. Where has it been lost? What has happened to your creativity? I'm the problem. Here's where you have lost your creativity. You went to school. And in the school, the first day, you have been told, sit there, don't move, don't talk, don't sleep, don't turn around, etc., etc. Be quiet. And then it is said that the children enter the school as a question marks, but they are exiting it as full stops, 10% of them, or ellipses, 90% of them. So now we have to do some reverse engineering to get back to the state where we were kids before school. And we were just playing and enjoying. That is why I told the ICRA crew that they're playing with camera during the break made me feel fine because you were playing. That was good. So enjoying is a bit nearer to being creative. You'll see why. Learn to enjoy in failures as well, because it is not the one who has learned to fly, who has reached the highest peak of the mountain. No, it is one who has fallen a number of times, but always got up, got the dirt out, and tried to fly again. Read Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Robert Bach. A good book, just 100 pages with lots of pictures, so you can read it in an hour and a half. Buy the book, read the book. Jonathan Livingston Seagull. How to enjoy in failures and how to reach the highs. That will change you. And then practicing. Forget your tears. Everything bad that happens to you is good for you. Because if someone changes diapers to you, you will never learn to run. Fall down. Now, it is about being knowledgeable. We have been talking, is it important to be knowledgeable? Well, in reality, yes, because in order to combine, you need some ammunition. You can't combine something that you don't know. So you need to know, you need some knowledge, but not systematic knowledge given you from the school, but everything. Go to the street, watch, talk to people, count the number of windows on different houses and think about it. Why this one has more than that one? Maybe there is some logic behind it. So be curious, just watching and yes, reading, and then actively gathering information and making experiments as the highest level of being curious. So you're scientists, future scientists, make experiments, crazy experiments. The result can be surprising. And that's a new resource. No one knows the resource. Combining it with something else, you know, plastic came about by chance, by an experiment. So, and think, if we want to understand something, we have to see how it came about. So it is what happens first and what are the consequences. Just watch and think. And then get out of box. Get out of box. Be different. Be free. It is extremely difficult to get out of box. Why? Because we are afraid. We are very afraid to be different. And what are we afraid of? The biggest fear of every human being is what?
Isolation.
Yes?
That.
Who told what? Someone said something? Isolation?
Isolation, I would say.
Yes. Yes.
To be judged?
Yes.
That.
Yes. Repeat.
That.
Death? No. No. There are much larger fears than the fear of death. Isolation, yes. Being judged, yes. Public speaking, yes. But behind all that is the basic fear of every monkey. And as you well know, we are the highest species among the monkeys. And that is being laughed at. Go to the zoo, to the monkey cage, and start laughing, and you'll see that they all run away from the stage. You can shout at them, they will shout at you. You can throw something on that, they will throw something on you. But when you start laughing on them, they are going to run away. And every kid in every group, when he's laughed at, starts crying and feels miserable. Because being laughed at is something that the Romans called sacer, being ostracized, being excluded, isolated from the community, and then you cannot come back. So being a misfit, getting out of the cage or of the box means that you are in a high danger of being laughed at. And a very small percentage of people can swallow it. Being laughed at is an enormous, enormous obstacle. So you have to overcome it. And there is only one trick how to overcome it and not to be laughed at. And what is the trick? I have shown you the trick deliberately. What do you think? How to overcome this fear and start being creative?
Be a child.
Yes, be a child, but how? How? You're a child no more. How?
Not go to school.
You have to go to school. To learn something in school is useful. Creative problem solving is bad. For other things, it's good. It's not. Francis de la Rosa. Are you here?
I think learn how to play.
Learn how to play. Yes, we have been playing as kids, but how not to be afraid that someone is going to laugh at us if we play in an improper place?
I think if you're a comedian, you will not feel fearful about if someone is laughing at you. If you're a comedian.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I tried.
You're not afraid of being laughed at?
I'm not afraid. Actually, I'm fond of having people laughing and smiling at me.
Aha, and okay, what is the trick that you use?
The trick that I use is that when I see that people are happy near with me, then I'm also happy with that.
Okay, happy is one thing, but laughing at someone is not being happy, is deriding them.
Okay, let's be specific. Okay, laughing is like a comedian, so even anything will do as long as the people are laughing, you know, because I grow up in a place where there are lots of comedians. So for me, it's okay that if you are laughing with one another, it's a form of bonding.
Well, in fact, you have guessed. Deliberately, I have started today's lecture with, though I'm a professor, I'm crazy. And that is it. If you openly state, if you laugh at yourself, then everyone will laugh with you. If you are trying to be serious, they are going to laugh at you. If they laugh at you, you are psychologically, you cannot overcome it. But if you start laughing at yourself, then they are going to laugh with you. That is the difference. So
exactly.
You just state, I'm different, I'm crazy, let's be happy, and then no one is going to laugh at you. Why are the people laughing at someone else? Because they are afraid at being laughed at. And in a company of 6 or more people, only one can be laughed at. If there are more, they would give support to each other, and then they are going to be strong. So there is the weak trick, and everyone is picking on the weak trick. And if you don't show that weakness, if you are not afraid of being laughed at, then they are not going to laugh at you. They laugh at you because they are afraid to be the weak trick. So in order to get out of box, you have to state, I'm out of the box, I don't care. Can you help me? Strategically, not in that words. So just tell, I'm a bit crazy. I hope you do well with such people, and then you are vaccinated. That is the same thing as vaccination. And then there is this technique called 5 whys. Usually I use an hour for it. Since I don't have time, you just Google out 5 whys and find numerous examples of how, using this technique, you can find the real problem it's not about finding the solution, but about finding the right problem. That is the why part of it. I told you it's not how, it's not what, but why. With 5 whys, you know which problem, and then after it, you just go towards a solution. The next thing to know is that you are not perfect. No one is. There are strong things about you and there are weak things about you. Work in team. In a team, you need different roles. People who are introvert and people who are extrovert. People who are meticulous and people who are fast. People with this knowledge and people with that knowledge. A team can be 3, 4, 5, or 6 people. If there are less than 3, then if there are 2. If there are 2, one will be the boss, the other one would be the slave. And no creation in 2. In 3, there are no bosses because 2 will always overcome 1. So the dynamics is changing. With 4, 5, and 6 is the same. From 7 on, we have a blockade in our pre-wired blockade in our head. Everyone starts to be afraid of being laughed at. It starts with 7, the fear of being laughed at, and then 1 becomes a boss, and everyone jumps into the bandwagon, and no creativity whatsoever. So it is 3, 4, 5, or 6 people in order to be creative in a team. You can be creative by yourself, but it's better to be creative in a team. And then you can start a brainstorming. So there is this John Osborne. There is a book from 1937 about brainstorming. And there are lots of YouTube videos, books about it, different kinds of brainstorming, brainwriting, KJ procedure. If you would be communication engineers as I would say that there are different types of brainstorming, Ethernet, Aloha, daisy chain, etc., etc. That's from communication theory, but you don't know them. Brainstorming is a very, very good technique. It's not the optimal technique, but it gives good results. So you say something, and by association, someone says something else, and then by association, something else comes around. And there is a very good way of brainstorming using 6 heads. It is Edward de Bono. You can find the book Edward de Bono, Teach Your Kid How to Think with 6 Heads. So you can find the book. And 6 heads are having different colors. One person in the group has the white head. The white head is data. Data. So no comments, nothing. There are 6 heads, it's data. Now it is already 3 o'clock, I have to be faster. I have to be much faster. Then you need a yellow head. The sun is yellow, the gold is yellow, that's about being good. Then the black head, the risks, the bad things. It's not criticizing, just harmful resources. And then, how do you feel about it? It's emotions. You know, the red flag to bull. It's about emotions. And then in the spring, everything is green and new alternatives. And then the color that is missing is blue. And the blue is control. Control because sky is blue. And from the sky, you fly and you see everything. You just control and combine things. So read the book and you get this brainstorming technique. It's a very, very good technique. Then you can balance everything. But it will not help you solve the problem. All this is just psychological. It's in every book. What I have been telling you till now is in every possible book about creative problem solving, but it doesn't help. And why doesn't it help? Because there are three boundaries. One is the boundary of the real life, real constraints boundary. And then there is the knowledge boundary, a personal knowledge and the collective knowledge. The collective knowledge is growing slowly, but constantly, and personal knowledge can grow faster because you can collect knowledge that other people have created. But there is a third boundary, and it is our prejudices, our presumptions. And those presumptions are much, 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 much tighter. And so in reality, you're searching just the cross, the word is missing. It's not the union, but you have two sets and it is, help me.
Interconnection.
Not interconnection, belonging to both sides.
Opposition?
Intersection.
Intersection. The intersection of those three boundaries is extremely, 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 extremely small. So the best solution is out of the reach. And the problem is with this tightest boundary, these presumptions. That is the cage you are in. You think that, that's why I told in the beginning that what you believe most is the first thing to be re-examined. That is getting out of the box. And imagine that it is in fact the ostrich egg. And you know, you have seen the ostrich egg. It has a very, very thick cover. And the little ostrich cannot get, imagine that it cannot get out of it. It's very difficult to get out of it. Your presumptions are strong. So how to get out? Call the mother ostrich and she will come and liberate you. So I'm going to introduce you the external tools that it's, now you know that you have to get out of the box, but now we are going to break the box and you are going to be out of the box without any psychological trick. I'll just send you out of the box. So how does it happen? So usually we solve the problems, we have a specific problem and we are thinking how to find the specific creative solution for the problem. That's normal. But the good thing is that there is a technique how to do it without being free and creative and brave and all those things that I have already mentioned. That is, for your problem, you have to study it and to break it into a number of resources. And then for those resources, you have a generic problem, you realize that you have a generic problem and you have a pool of ready-made solutions. And then you have a conceptual solution and then just you make some adaptations to your specific problem to have a specific solution. This pool of ready-made solutions was made by 3,000 people in the former Soviet Union, the so-called Trizniks, who have been reading millions and millions of patents and extracting the main idea from each one and then generalizing, and then they have found a list of 40 tricks that are always used. But those tricks are used on resources. Now we have to focus on resources. We have 4 divisions of resources. The first one is between technical, personal, and economical. It's for the 3 markets. The market of goods, the workforce market, and the market of finances. You have learned it elsewhere. So you have to watch all 3 things: technical, personal, and economical resources. And then, as I have already told you, there is this usefulness. So you have harmful and you have useful resources, but you also have neutral. You know SWOT analysis. Have you heard about SWOT analysis?
Yes. Yes, in business.
Yes, in business, that is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you are talking about good and bad things. You're not talking about neutral things. But 99.999999999999% of resources are neutral. And then you ignore them, so you don't use them. So SWOT analysis is not a good analysis. This is much better analysis to watch for neutral resources as well. And then there are 2 other divisions, but in order to understand them, we are going to have an illustrative example. So we have this old guy, he retired, and he has bees and collects honey and brings them to the local market to sell. And then he got an accident, and he's got a problem. He has some harmful resources. First, the glass is broken. Secondly, the seeds are now sticky with honey. Third, the honey is now dirty because the seed was not clean. And the fourth, if he wants to wash this, then everything will corrode. If he wants to scrape the honey, the pieces of glass will cut the seeds. So how would you solve the problem? Give your ideas, solve the problem. Any ideas how to solve the problem?
You clean the car and continue with the 4 jars of honey.
Repeat it, didn't hear well.
No, I just say that you can just forget about the honey, you clean your car seat, and you continue with the 4 jars.
Okay, you continue with the 4 jars, but okay, you write off the honey, you write off the glass, but what to do with the seed?
We're gonna clean it.
Go to clean it. Okay, but then you have some harm and you have some cost for cleaning. But,
true, I will increase the price of the honey.
Yes, but there is a better solution. Go to where it all belongs. Go to the past and use your resources from the subsystem. And that is, let the bees eat the honey and vomit it again in their beehives. And in half an hour, you'll collect clean honey again, and the seed will be clean. and you just have this tiny piece of broken glass, you can get the vacuum cleaner and eliminate it. And then your final cost is very, very, very small. The trick is then to use these resources from the subsystem from the past. So now we have this resource matrix. So we know we have the past, present, and future. So we have now in SWOT analysis, we use just the present and future resources and just the useful and harmful. And what is our strength? It's our systemic, useful, present, not important whether it's technical, personal, or economic resource. What is our weakness? It is our present, systemic, harmful. What are the opportunities? Those are the future, super system, useful, and what are threats? Future, super system, harmful. So it's just 4 out of 81 boxes that we have, because each of these can be harmful, neutral, and useful. And it can be technical and personal and economic. Every of these 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. So SWOT analysis is just 4 boxes out of this 81. And SWOT analysis is used to state, oh, I have more strengths than weaknesses, more opportunities than threats. Give me the money, everything is gonna be fine. No, it is just stating what are the resources, and then you're going to combine the resources to find the solution. Harmful resources are good for you. They are better than useful resources, because the others also have those harmful resources. If they don't make a creative solution, then you're going to be the first in the market and win. So having problems is a good thing. But now about this system, subsystem, super system, I know from experience, so I have introduced this slide after some time to explain what they are. The people do not recognize which is which. So if something cannot be replaced and it is necessary, it is a system. If it is optional, but you cannot replace it, it is super system. It means it is not yours. For instance, a car is a system. The road is a super system. You cannot replace it, but you don't need to use it. You can go using another road. A wheel is a subsystem. You can replace it. If your tire is broken, you replace it, but it is necessary. You cannot drive without a wheel. And what if you can replace something and you don't need it? Then it's a surplus, you eliminate it. That is trimming. And it is one simple sort of problem solving. So eliminating this surplus cuts your costs. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. So now you know how to have these resources. It's 81 type of resources. And then you state what is ideal. You define ideality as a ratio between benefit and the sum of cost and harm. Ideally, the ideality coefficient should be infinite. It means we have all possible benefits at no cost with no harm. That is, yes?
More 5 minutes.
Oh, that is the ideal final state. So you just state what is the ideal final state, and then you find contradictions. So any two or more resources that together impede the attainment of the desired benefit, or increase the existing cost or create new cost, or preserve existing harm or introduce new harm. And use the 40 principles of trees. You can Google it out. These are those 40 principles. The most important one is inversion, go backwards. And use them to combine those resources and to resolve those contradictions. And then you have the ideal final state and go backwards. What is the last step towards the ideal final state? What is the previous, etc., to the existing situation? And for each step, you find and resolve contradictions. So don't state this is the first step, because you are going towards the wrong direction. You go backwards. You state what is the best. So all the benefits, no costs, no harms. Just state what are the harms, and you state I don't want any harm. And then what is the last step to reach it? Aha, that one. What is the step before it? And then the last thing, because you're from process technology, I want you to help me. As you can see, I am wearing glasses, but I want, and I have tried to wear contact lenses, but I have this dry eye syndrome. It's known as keratoconjunctivitis sicca. So what are my resources? And your resources are as well. Dry eye syndrome makes wearing contact lenses impossible. So I have tried and I cannot. It is at least for me, it's past, it's harmful, it's subsystem, and it is technical. Among older people, nowadays I'm classified as an older guy, it affects up to 70% of people. So it's past, I'm past already, it's harmful, it's personal, it is super system because everyone has it. You cannot eliminate older people, you cannot substitute them, they exist. Symptoms are worsened when the rate of blinking is reduced due to prolonged use of the eyes. And who gets the dry eye symptoms? The people in front of the monitor. And my job is to sit in front of a computer the whole day. So I have problems with my spine, I have problems with my eyes. So it is present, harmful, systemic, and personal. I have tried using artificial tears, and they are dispensed in liquid drops because it's easy. I'm not a doctor. To put it has to be in liquid drops. But the liquids usually immediately drain here to this part that is called cul-de-sac of the eye. And then they are drained through the nose outside, and artificial tears do not help. Why did I repeat this one? It's an error. And the transportation of these liquids can be cheaper if it's transported in powder and then mixed with salty water that is with a physiological solution in place. So what can be your solution to my problem? Be creative. I want to wear contact lenses.
So you have to wear the contact lenses.
I have to wear contact lenses, but I can't because I have this dry eye syndrome.
So you accept it and you don't wear them? Or no, you want to wear them?
I want to, well, wearing glasses, you see, I have these glasses that are just 2 grams to not cut holes here, you know, and
yeah.
Maybe you can apply implant a dosing system inside your eye with the powder, so it liberates the tears consecutively.
Good. So I have this powder and I have a container. So I have a frame with powder and physiological solution that makes artificial tears in place and throws into my eyes every minute.
Yeah, but then you could also just operate your eyes. Maybe it's easier.
Well, maybe.
I mean, if you drip something from a frame into your eyes, then it's no different than having glasses. So
I mean, not a frame. I mean, an implant inside the eye.
But if you take advantage of your computer and have some kind of software that would change the rate of blinking in your eyes, like
well,
to make it...
Yes, I have tried to use some programs that every minute make it black and state blink, then I blink, because you should blink every 5 to 10 seconds, but looking into computer, you don't blink for 2 hours. So everyone gets glasses in the end because of the computer, but that's what we are paid for, to sit in front of the computer. And what to do? The real problem is this draining of the liquid into cul-de-sac of the eye. And so we have combining all those resources and using one of those. We don't have time enough, so I'll just give it the solution. We just state that, in fact, we don't need liquid in our eyes. Liquid is just for the ease of application. So have 2 liquids.
Professor, sorry,
the gel, and the gel will not evaporate and will not drain. It will stay put under the lenses. So get the 2 components that together make a gel, and then you put contact lenses and the problem is solved.
Professor, sorry for interrupting you. We should finish this lecture.
Yes, I'm finishing. So what have you learned today? You have learned to be silent and not to be brave and creative. Okay. What has surprised you today that you didn't know and you didn't expect?
I like the interactivity of the session, and yeah, some new, I don't know, some motivation to go on with ideas we have, but we are not brave enough to try out, or don't think we have the time to try them out.
What have you already known, except the 9 dots problem?
We know that there is a problem and that we have to solve it. We knew, but how? No, why?
Not the how.
Do you have some questions for me?
There is no time.
Do you have a lecture where we could go more in detail, which we could attend?
If you want, I can give you the whole course, which is 3 days. I just extracted the most important things for this hour.
Yeah, it will be nice to have more time on this, but because of the limited time,
Yes.
It was very fast. It was nice to follow all this, but it was a lot of information in very short time.
Yes.
I don't know if but yeah, we would like to have more information about it.
Okay. You can try to get those books. So Savransky, Trees. Then Robert Bach, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Then Edward de Bono, Six Heads.
Sorry, Professor. Next lecturer is already waiting.
Okay, that's it. Bye.
Of course, you'll have this presentation and you'll have opportunity to contact Professor Schenk directly. At this moment, I'd like to ask you to fill this form you have in chat. This is a short exam just to check how patiently you have followed all these lectures today. And you have some, let's say, 15 minutes to solve it.
The general manager of White Lemur Company, whose project Soma and Innovation Biosporin won the Innovation of the Year award last year on the competition, official competition. And I can tell you a bit about myself, our project, and our experiences, a bit about the process of developing an innovation, and then we can, as soon as I hope sooner rather than later, go over to any questions any of you might have. So we started developing our innovation, which is called Biosporin, and it is a biodegradable ecological substitute for styrofoam. We started developing it in 2018, and as soon as we begun development, it was kind of a spontaneous idea which evolved. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I have to just 1 second. Technical problems, I apologize. So we originally started our business in a completely different angle, and it didn't really have an innovative angle to it, or innovation wasn't kind of our goal or purpose. We started growing pharmaceutically active mushrooms and producing supplements and pharmaceuticals based on substances extracted from them. And in the process of growing the mushrooms, which are the resource for the extract, we realized that one waste stream that we had, which was the body of the mushroom, the mycelium, had certain qualities that were reminded of styrofoam in certain conditions. And at the same time, public awareness started to rise around plastic pollution and around the harmfulness of styrofoam, especially styrofoam used in single-use packaging. So that was kind of a market gape that we saw a hole in the market, because there was no effective substitute for styrofoam, yet legal constraints already started to be put on to single-use styrofoam, especially in single-use packaging. So that kind of generated a need. At the same time that we noticed that we had something in our production cycle which could potentially answer to that need. So in a in a sense, more abstract sense from our example, that can also serve as a kind of guideline to how to develop innovations originally, that the market fit or the hole in the market is far more important than the innovation itself or than the product itself, or how cool or how innovative you think your product is. So we had the luck of having kind of both of those click at the same time, and we started to pursue that line. We took that material, we experimented with it. We were able to create a prototype with which we secured a grant from the Fund of Innovational Development, which helped us develop our innovation from prototype level to pilot production. And at the same time that we were finishing our development of the pilot production stream, we applied for the competition for the best technological innovation. During that period, the competition is quite long, and it's almost a year in duration. During that, of course, because innovation is a very dynamic thing, and startups are very dynamic settings, so it all develops very quickly. And from the beginning, from what you applied with up to what you end with, there's going to be quite a lot of difference. So we applied at a certain point in our development, and then continued on with our development while we were passing through the procedure of the competition. Generally, our experiences from the process of the competition can be summed up as it appears when you're passing through it, it appears quite lengthy. It appears quite challenging with the amount of participation that you have to put in. And you might not understand the purpose of it at that point. However, at the end of the process, when you look back, you realize that all of those processes serve to teach you some aspect or to teach you the complete process of how to shape an idea, how to validate that idea, and how to fit it to the market, and how to create a real product out of it. So the process that is taught in that procedure with the competition isn't really necessarily how to develop your innovation or invention from a technical perspective. That's always left up to you. No one's gonna explain to you how to develop the technology, because every technology is completely different and no single process can cover it. However, the process of developing a product is a very general one. No matter which area your product belongs to or what kind of service it is, more or less all products and services follow a very similar developmental path. So that's kind of something that can be gained through the external guidance of systems like accelerators, like the educational part of the competition, or certain grants which have mentorship faculties. So, as I said, innovation as a process is a very dynamic thing, and quite often what you started with and what your idea was at the beginning isn't necessarily going to be what you're going to end up with when it goes to the market. And one of the best advice I can give to young people who are interested in starting or developing their idea to innovation is don't get too hung up on the idea. The idea might have come from you and it might be your brainchild, but ideas in this modern world where everyone has access to the same internet, about 4 billion people have the access to the same amounts of data and they can see the same problems that you can. The likelihood of your idea being totally original is almost zero. So ideas are much cheaper. What's more expensive and what's more difficult is the capacity to develop that idea into a product. And that doesn't mean necessarily only your capability as a professional or your intelligence or your economical capability. It's also the capability of emotionally not attaching yourself to your invention or to your idea originally and listening to the market. So listening to what the needs of the marketplace are and responding to them regardless of what you personally might think the product should be ideally, because the world is never ideal and the marketplace is never going to be ideal as such. So right now the original innovation with which we won the competition last year is in early commercialization stage now. It's still partially under development, but much further ahead than it was. And in the meanwhile, we developed a few other innovations which are already on the market. And we also, in the whole process of actually developing the innovations and going through the different grants and competitions, developed a skill set, which is basically another product. And that's research and development and product development for innovations, which we are also offering as a service. So it's not only about the product which you want to create. Sometimes you will end up with selling something completely else when you go through the process. I wouldn't want to bore further with my story. If anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and ask them, and we'll steer the conversation from
there. Any question? In that case, Nicola Scoro, please.
Hello, everyone. I hope you hear me well. I'm sure that you had quite busy and very informative day today. So in this part of this training school, I would like to present first few information about Marie Curie Alumni Association together with my colleague Ornella Bardi. She is Western Balkan chair of chapter in Marie Curie Alumni Association. And then we will also have two first-hand experience stories from Ivo Dzidrovsky and also Generoso Ianniciello that will tell you how they went from science to business, or what is their entrepreneurship experience. So first, I would like to introduce Ornella Bardi and ask her to tell us a few words about the Western Balkan chapter of Marie Curie Alumni Association.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nicola. Can I share my slides? It will be just one slide. Otherwise, you can share it, Nicola, if you have access.
You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The Western Balkan chapter is one of the chapters part of the Marie Curie Alumni Association. And before we go there, I'd like to thank Nicola for organizing this event, part of the bigger event from the University of Belgrade. And just to have a few things about the chapter. So the chapter was previously as a group because we didn't have many members, although there are a lot of members from the Western Balkan region, that's the grants. But only in 2019, after the MCAU General Assembly and Conference, we converted it into a chapter. We currently have 107 members, and I am also currently the chair of the chapter. Previously, we had Radenka, that is now currently located in Montenegro. Part of the chapter, what we do is that we like to promote and to connect people from the region that are currently holding or have held Marie Curie grant. And we also like to promote the grants in the region through different events. We also collaborate with not only with the chapters and the working groups within the Marie Curie Alumni Association, but we also like to collaborate and work with institutions in the region, especially universities, research institutions, but also the governments or affiliated parties in the government that deal with research, innovation in general, and also policy making. Because as you might know, as you might have seen also, there's not a lot of research made in the region. And we want to increase that. We are very proud, especially for two very accomplishments. We received the MCA award in 2020 for the best European MCA chapter. And that was because we were very active throughout this year, the 2020, but also previous. And also a very important feature that we had was that we were very active in Twitter, and we promoted our members to have more visibility, not only in the region, but also abroad, broader. And we also, this year, we organized together with the MCAA a spring school that was organized in Montenegro by our previous chapter chair, Radenka, from Research to Innovation. And we had a lot of a week-long events talking about research, innovation, and beyond. So to capitulate, to conclude, we work a lot in this aspect in research, and we want institutions actually to collaborate with each other, but within the region, but also outside the region and with other European institutions. And we want to establish partnership with side policy stakeholders in the region as well. And we are open to collaborations with different institutions in Belgrade, in Serbia, in Albania, in Montenegro, in North Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Kosovo. So this is a short introduction. If you have more questions or any how to connect with the chapter, we have here the Twitter handle MCAA _WB, and also the email, the official email, which is westernbalkans.chapter@mariecuriealumni.eu. Thank you.
Thank you, Ornella, very much. And as you all know, we have in this project people, ESRs coming, and also institutions coming from many neighboring, let's say like that, MCAA chapters, neighboring to our Western Balkan chapter, but also, as you said, we would also like to make collaborations with other chapters throughout Europe. So if some of the students are active in some chapters, please contact Ornella through this MCAA website or through Twitter. And
absolutely. And one more thing is please log in, register to MCAA, because as Nicola will mention also in the next slide. We do have a lot of portals and also people who work in specific areas, who do a lot of work in innovation, career development, training, mental well-being, which is very important. But also I would like to also join the chapter afterwards. Because when you register in the website, the Mercury Alumni Association website, you have to also manually go to the chapters or working groups and become member there. So you don't become automatically a member. Just have to clarify this.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. If there are questions for Ornella, you can ask now. Okay. If not, then I will just give you just few. I will spend your few minutes only to just show you few. I would say pointers related to entrepreneurship in MCAA. Do you see the presentation in full screen now? Okay. Yes. So, thanks. So, as I said, just a brief overview. I don't know how much and how much are you familiar with this MCAA instruments that you can use. If not, go to MCAA website and you can explore there. And regarding to this, to the topic of this training school, I just point out things that are important for entrepreneurship. So the first, let's say, step would be to go to Bridging Science and Business group. Chair of that group is Murat Gunesh, and you can see here from these aims and objectives of the group that actually it's really promoting the way from science to business. And there at the website, you can see also you can join the group and actively participate this discussion and the events they organize. Or you can just follow the activities. You can put yourself on the mailing list and then get informed about all initiatives they have. They are quite active group, and they also organize different kind of events. Of course, most of the events now, or all of the events, are online, which is sometimes not even a bad thing, because maybe you can follow it from your home. Anyway, these events are announced in the MCAA website as other also events, but you can also search through them and just check for this specific topic. This is something which is like main thing. The other stuff related to entrepreneurship can be found on Marie Curie Alumni Association blog. For instance, I checked there and saw that there is a very nice text by Ashisha Vashi. He's a member of MCAA board. And there are also some other texts there, so you can check. Also at the MCAA annual conference, there is usually at least one session devoted to entrepreneurship. And last time it was organized with European Institute of Innovation and Technology alumni. And it was the whole session with several talks and also discussion time. So it's very nice because you can go there and ask these first hear the stories and also some technical details, and also ask ask questions to specific people. There are also different kind of learning courses, of course, to this subject of entrepreneurship. And I cannot talk in general, but for instance, in our chapter, there was an initiative, and we had several accesses that were given to some certain amount of members for LinkedIn learning courses, but also to other courses, course portals, let's say like that, like Coursera and eCornell. And it depends. I mean, the MCA distributes these licenses through the chapters, so it depends on the chapter that you are member. So you can ask there if there are possibilities for that kind of to attend that kind of courses also. And with this, I would finish this very short pointers, I would say, not a presentation. Is there any questions?
Hi, I have a question. I'm Nicoletta.
Okay, yes.
So I checked that the Western Balkan chapter includes only countries that are not in the EU, right? Because most
okay,
not necessarily.
Not necessarily, yes.
It includes only countries that are part of the Western Balkans, not Croatia, because Croatia has their own chapter, and also Greece has their own chapter, but the rest, yes. And it's not only for people from the region, like ITN fellows from the region, but also others that come and do research as part of the MSCA grants here in the region. So it's not only for nationals, but also internationals who come and do research in the region.
Yeah, and so my question was do you have any difficulties of being of having this chapter established and being outside of the EU community, but trying to also incorporate to the EU? Because I guess for the European countries, it's a bit easier. Or no, did you face more difficulties? How is your experience so far? I mean, dealing with this?
The Marie Curie Alumni Association is based in Brussels. So we're not like the association here in the region. And all the financial aspect comes from the Brussels, from the main board and everything. So we're just operating here, and not necessarily everybody is in the region. I was away for quite some time before coming back to Albania. And also we have a lot of members. Most of our members are actually abroad, not in the region. And they are performing their membership through their other countries. So we're not necessarily based in the region or different entity from the Marie Curie Alumni Association. And usually this is how it works, because there are chapters in America. We have North America chapter, we have Brazilian chapter, we have China chapter, and other chapters.
Yeah, because I like that you got the initiative to create this group and try to get advantage of all these opportunities that the European Union gives to the students. And it's really nice and trying to bridge the people within the European Union, and not only European Union, but from Europe.
Yeah. And we want to make the collaboration even more seamlessly, because somehow here in the region it's quite difficult to bring people together and collaborate. At least I've seen this in Albania, but from what I've heard from other members, it is also difficult in other countries in the region, such as Montenegro and also Serbia. Mm-hmm. And we want these entities to collaborate within the same country, but also within the region and with other countries in the European Union, or even like broadly outside of EU. And through these collaborations with the different chapters, this is possible.
Okay, but anyone can be a member of this chapter. I mean, can I be a member of this chapter or no?
If you are based in Belgrade or in Serbia in general,
okay.
Yes.
Okay,
so yeah, just to clarify one more time, so the membership is actually related to the let's say, if you're present Marie Curie grantee, then the membership is related to your present country or your present location.
Yeah, and or nationality.
Former grantee, then you can actually, if you're a resident back to your country, yeah, then you can join the other chapter from that belongs to your country.
I've been a member of 2 different chapters, the Western Balkan chapter because of my nationality, but also Portugal and Spanish chapter because I was based there. I could have become also a member in the Irish chapter because I was based in Ireland as well. So I haven't seen, for example, MSCA fellows from a different region become members of a chapter that they are not related.
Okay.
Because usually the problems the chapters deal is that the problems related to the chapter. So it will be very difficult if you are not in the loop of what is happening in the region.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and thank Ornella, and also thank Nicoletta for bringing this out so we could point out some more additional information. And now we will switch to our first speaker, Ivo Dzidrowski. He will give us his point of view, his story about going from science to business. We can see your presentation now in full screen. So
okay,
start.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Ivo Dzidrowski, and I am the CEO of In3 Solutions. But I thought, since the topic of today's webinar is from idea to commercialization, I thought I will tell you a story about a recent experience I had called the InCube Challenge. So a little bit about my background is I am a scientist. I did my PhD as part of an international training like some of you guys here. And I come from Macedonia, but I grew up in France most of my life. And I did my PhD within a startup, which is called New Cells Biotech. And my research focused on developing an airway of the lungs from stem cells. And I was very lucky. I actually came up with a new method on how to make this lung airway. And this is a picture of me when I was the happiest moment of my PhD when I made the discovery. And it's basically making the whole thing at an air-liquid interface. So it's this little insert here, and the airway is grown on top, and it grows like very similar to what you would get in vivo. So this was a very nice discovery. I published 2 papers on this topic in good impact factor journals, and the company patented my work and are now selling it as a product. So the company where I started we were 3 people, and now there are more than 30. But this is another story to tell. This is not from idea to commercialization. This is already growing, how to build upon once you start, how to build. So this is a different story, and I will not tell you this story this time. But after my PhD, I decided to take my own path and leave New Cells Biotech, even though there were opportunities there. I felt like I wanted to do something for myself. So I started this company in the continuity of In3 project called In3 Solutions, where I organize virtual scientific conferences. And I make the best virtual conferences, no jokes. They're super interactive. The platform is very, very nice. When you go to someone, when you're close to someone, you can talk to each other, but when you walk away, you can't hear each other anymore. So it creates a dynamic which simulates real life conferences. And we organize everything from start to beginning, from beginning to end. Marketing, finding presenters, speakers, everything, the whole experience, making it super smooth. We can also invite artists who play live concerts and very interesting, insightful scientific discussions. So this is what I do now. This is my company, and it's based in Skopje, Macedonia. I went back home after 15 years of living abroad. And this again is another story to tell. So I will move on to the InCube challenge, which is a challenge that I did less than a month ago. And it was organized by ETH University in Zurich, ETH Entrepreneur Club. And it's basically finding 5 people from different backgrounds, completely different. So we had Natasha, who is a PhD in quantum physics from University of Basel. I did my PhD in stem cells and toxicology at Newcastle University. Natasha is Brazilian, I'm Macedonian, Ahmed is Turkish. He did an MSc in management and economics. Then we have Julie Ha, which is a funny name. Every time I asked her, what's your name? She was like, huh? And I was like, your name, huh? Oh shit, your name is Ha. Anyways, she studied UX design, so she's very talented at making things pretty. And we had Louis Pasteur, who has also an interesting name. He is from Spain, and he studied data science at ETH University. And finally, we had our facilitator who was guiding us through the process, and his name is Shizard, and he's an Uyghur from China, which is also very interesting to meet someone Uyghur after knowing what is going on in China right now. And this is basically what it looks like. On this image, you can see the cube where I was, and we lived here for 5 days in a row, trying to come up with a solution to a real world problem and bring it to commercialization, from idea all the way to final product. And how does this work? It's basically following design thinking. I don't know if you have heard of design thinking, if you spoke about it today, but it's basically a very efficient method to generate real life solutions to real life problems. And it all begins with empathy. You empathize with your target audience. You try to understand what is their problem in their real life. What's going on? What's the problems? Defining the problem statement is the key to finding a solution. So it's instead of starting with a solution like, oh, I have a great idea that can be commercialized, is no. What's the problem? What are you trying to solve? That's how it should work. So you can read a bunch of books on this topic, and I highly recommend, if you want to go into entrepreneurship, to read about this method. And now I will show you what we did on a daily basis. I can't go too much into detail because it's quite a short amount of time that I can present. This is what the cube looked like. It was literally in the center of Zurich, next to the tallest tower that they have. And people were walking by on a daily basis, looking at us like monkeys in the zoo, knocking on the glass. Hey, what are you guys doing? Like some guy knocked and he was like, can I come hang out with you guys? What are you guys doing? You guys hanging out? And we're like, no, man, we're working here. Come on. Anyways, this is how it all began. We kicked off at 8 o'clock in the morning. We arrived late. Our alarm didn't ring, so it was very stressful. But we got there, unpacked quickly. We found where the toilets are and the showers, the most important things, of course. And we had our problem announced from Hilti. Now, Hilti, I don't know if you've heard of Hilti, but it's one of the biggest manufacturers in tools for building in the construction industry. They make the best tools in the world for the construction industry. And they're based in Luxembourg. And they produce everything in Luxembourg. Everything is high tech. So they are real innovators. It's a company of innovators. So we started off with the challenge, and Hilti came over, and they were like, we didn't know what the idea was going to be. Like we just showed up in the cube, we met the people, but we didn't know on which problem we were going to work on. Now I'm a biologist myself. I know nothing about the construction industry, and when I saw the problem, I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? How to create positive impact on the job site using advanced digital ecosystem, leveraging technology to facilitate exchange of data on the job site and sharing it with authorized stakeholders. What does this even mean? I had no idea how the construction industry even worked. Literally, I had no idea. So this was a problem, and we decided to start off by writing our hopes and fears within the group. So we wrote, what do we fear? What do we hope to achieve after this experience? So then, no matter what happens, we don't end up being heartbroken. And we started off by preparing interview questions on how to make an efficient interview and find out what the problem of the construction industry is. How does it work? Like, how is it organized? What's going on? So it was a tough day. We spoke to many experts from Hilti, and we didn't even know which questions to ask the people from Hilti. So we were very inefficient. And then we decided to Google stuff ourselves. And it's basically using the design thinking model, and we tried to empathize with workers. And we found that there's loads of mental health problems and hard work, complaints, lack of organization. But we tried to test this. So since we had to come up with 2 problem statements by the end of the day, this is what we came up with. So this was very rough. The 2 problems we identified is that the managers struggle to coordinate with subcontractors, which leads to inefficiency and timely delivery. So basically, they invite the mason, but the guy who was meant to bring the sand in the truck, he didn't come that day. And the mason and the electrician are there, and they're just waiting and doing nothing, and money is spent, delays. And this is something that happens in the construction industry. And then the second statement was contractors and subcontractors cannot attract and retain enough skilled workers, which leads to insufficient workflow and timely delivery. Lack of workers. Now that is an interesting problem. There's a lot of jobs available. There's over 150 million jobs in the construction industry in Europe, but only 15 million workers. Nobody wants to go there. It's not an attractive thing. Like, nobody wants to be a worker. Everybody wants to study nowadays. You know, this is the system. They teach you that university is the best path you can take. So the second day, we tried to brainstorm with how might we solve these 2 problem statements. And it's part of the ideation process, trying to figure out an idea on how may we solve this. And we did a bunch of methods. We did how may we questions, silent brainstorming. Everybody writes ideas on post-it notes, sticks them in. Then we did this weird German method where you basically run around a chair and you write your ideas on a post-it note and you stick it on the chair and you run around and crazy ideas come out. What are we gonna do? Taco Tuesday, yeah, whatever. It was rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. Then we did clustering of the ideas to make like themes for every idea and try to build solutions. And then we called our friends, we called our family, we tried to figure out if these solutions are actually interesting. And by the end of the day, we had to lock the first problem statement. So during that day, we also interviewed experts on the field. We went to construction sites and we asked the workers, hey man, what's your problem? And they were all like, we don't have a problem. We're very happy. It's great. We get paid 5K per month. This is Switzerland. We have no hard labor. It's perfect. We always have a job. Nothing to complain about. We're very happy. We feel fulfilled. We finish our day and we feel productive. We've done something. And that was very tricky because we were like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to figure out which problem are we going to do? Do you have problems with coordination, with sand arriving late and everything? And they were like, no, the only problem is lack of workers. There's not enough of us. So they have to bring in workers from Kosovo and Serbia and whatever to go and work in Switzerland because the Swiss don't want to work. So we chose the second problem. And then the next day we worked on the solution. How can we solve lack of workers? And again, we did a brainstorming. How may we solve the problem? We tried putting assumptions and we had to lock a solution by the end of the day. And this was our solution. Our solution was to try and educate existing and new young workers by showing them that there are actually career opportunities within the construction industry. So this is where we were at day 3. And at day 4, we started prototyping, making a platform which is focused on education of workers. And at that point, I had a call with Mr. Michael Prilepchansky, who is a big boy in the construction area. He actually directed the building of Burj Khalifa in Dubai, as well as the Palm Island. And I asked him, hey man, we came up with this solution. We have a platform where your workers can get educated and you can get new workers. And he started laughing at me and he said, Ivo, listen, you're very idealistic. It's great. It's great to hear such positivity. But the reality is workers, they're the least educated people we have here in Dubai. We take people from Bangladesh, from Malaysia. We ask them, can you measure 1 meter? And if they can measure 1 meter, they become a mason. If they can't, well, they're just going to be shoveling. And that's how it is. And he said, no, there's no SME that will ever invest in educating their own workers. And I was in panic mode, like, oh my God, we missed the point. Like we came up with a solution that's not going to work. And I went back to my team and I said, listen, guys, this is all bullshit. We got to start over. We got to focus on replacement of workers rather than educating workers. Let's come up with new tools that will require less workers instead of educating the current ones. And then it was disaster. The team fell apart. Everybody was feeling depressed. And then I remembered this book that I read. It's called Nonviolent Communication, which I highly recommend. It's basically an approach to express how you feel about something without making a mess. And I made a mess and then employed the nonviolent communication method. And we all decided to go to ice cream, chill out. We had ice cream. All the problems were solved. We're like, okay, I don't believe in this idea, but I'm gonna give all I got to boost my team to make the idea happen. So we worked really, really hard, like really, really hard, all night, trying to make a prototype. And the moment had come, we were done. As you can see, we were sleeping on the floor in the cube. It was cold Zurich nights. 14 degrees inside the cube. It was a challenge. Like I ain't even lying. It was rough. The next day, we had to come up with the pitch, and we're gonna pitch to this huge ass conference organized by the ETH Entrepreneur Club, 700 people present, some online, some live. And I was like, what? This is Corona times. How is this even possible? Well, it turns out it is. And we had to prepare our pitch, make sure it's perfect timing, make sure to have the right answers to the questions. And we arrived at the conference, which was very, very interesting. There were very innovative ideas, such as this one, like an AR headset, like for the motorcycle, which tells you how fast you ride, the speed limitations, crazy ideas. I was so impressed. I was so impressed. ETH Entrepreneur Club are very high level. Switzerland is one of the most innovative countries in the world. 6 years in a row, the most innovative country in the world. So if you want to go innovation, that's where I recommend. And here we are, ready for the event. So ready that I just jumped on stage. I didn't even wait for my turn. Like I was the first one out there. And this was our prototype. Like this was our solution. So we basically had a plan. We were the doors and windows company, and we connect training providers like companies in the manufacturing who have new tools, for example, new technologies, or trade schools which train workers, to connect them with SMEs that employ the workers. So they do on-site training for them. And in the same time, they offer these trainings to new young people under 25 for free, which can go and do the training at the SME site. And then they would earn a skill, and these guys would earn a worker because they can employ them right away because they always need workers. That was our idea. And this is how we designed it. It's like a very nice app. So you either want to get training or provide training. This is John Doe, the manager who has his workers. He has the courses that he bought. So it's half online, half on site. And this is Edward, who wants to learn to become an electrician. And he has like courses that he can learn, suggested courses on how to continue like a career, where he can do an internship, where there's a training nearby, and all of that. But on stage, the pitch itself, we did a great job, but we were very misorganized during the questions. Like Natasha, who did the pitch, she didn't give the microphone to the other team members, and she was the only one talking. And it was like, come on, girl, pass the mic. Like we're in this together. We gotta share the mic. That's how it is. It's the stage. Lack of communication and coordination. That's what it was. And the winners were another team who really identified their problem. They worked on autism in the transport. So they had a completely different question and problem to work on. And theirs was from Siemens. And they came up with a solution to guide autistic people using AR, like an AR dragon, to guide them to areas where there's less people, so then they get less panic attacks. And they made a video of what it's like to be an autist and how they live their experience in the train. And it was an exceptional pitch. Like it was very, very good. So here's some lessons that I learned, and I would like to share these with you. Design thinking, very efficient method to come up with problems to a prototype. Diverse background and skills are very important because we're all different people. We all came up with very interesting solutions together. The teamwork and communication is key. And the morality of the team is the main thing. You got to keep the moral up. Even if you don't believe, even if you're not sure, you can't bring the team down. That's key. Most skills are transversal. So having a PhD was very helpful because critical thinking, interpreting data, panicking, changing hypotheses, moving on, always questioning everything we're doing, always questioning. That's what I was doing. And it turned out great. And seek discomfort, go there, go in the field, talk to people, be brave, dream it, do it. Imagine the future. Imagine what would you like the future to be like? Imagine it and then try to make it, try to do it. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. You can also email me. If you need help with organizing conferences and everything, I'm here. I'll do a great job, I promise. And thank you for having me.
Ivo, thank you very much for this magnificent and very unique story. And I would like to ask if there are any questions now to ask Ivo from our participants. Yes, no?
Oh, I would also recommend that you sign up for next year's Incube Challenge. It's a great experience if you're interested. It's quite selective, so you gotta make an effort to make a good impression on them. They don't look at the CV as much as they look at the motivation.
Do you need to find your team in advance?
No, we basically did an Outcube. So we went to the Swiss Alps for a week, where we had lectures on entrepreneurships by world leaders, like the inventor of the JPEG was there. How genius. And loads of professors from ETH who prepared us for this in advance. And they looked at our personalities and how we interact with each other. And then they build the teams based on that.
So it was a procedure that started earlier.
We did 5 days of Outcube, 5 days Incube.
Okay, great. Very unique experience.
It was indeed. It was indeed. I would recommend if you guys are into innovation.
Yeah.
And another thing, if you're skilled in one area, it doesn't mean that you can't make it in another. Like, look at me. I'm a stem cell scientist. I did a crazy discovery. My scientific career was booming, and I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna start a company myself into event organizing. I've never done that before, but look at me now. I'm doing it. Construction industry. You can do it. If you believe it, you can do it. It's not because you're an expert in something that you can't be versatile, and you should be versatile. Every good innovator is versatile and a good speaker also. You need to be very communicative and use your network. That's my advice for entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much.
Maybe another time I will tell you the story of New Cells Biotech and their success and how they grew it from beginning from 3 people to 30, because that's also another interesting story, but due to the limitation of time, I cannot tell you everything.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely. We will organize some other events that also invite you and also all participants of this training school. So once more, thank you very much, Ivo.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And good luck with your entrepreneurial careers and scientist career, scientific. You can be both, scientist, entrepreneur. The best.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So next speaker today is Generoso Iannicello, and he will give his point of view, his story about science to business, let's say it like that. So Generoso, please, Zoom is yours.
Thank you. Hi. Thanks for inviting me. Let me share my screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, it's okay. We see it full screen. Perfect.
That's great. So thank you again for inviting me. And I'm Generoso, and at Dante Labs, I cover the role of Senior Director of Innovation. Dante Labs is a company whose motto is a human approach to health. And okay. So currently, where we are, so currently Dante Labs is a genomics integrated data platform. Dante Labs is headquartered in Cambridge, UK. We have Global Genomics Lab in Italy, Dubai, Austin, and Cambridge. And we have global hubs for market access all over the world. We are impacting 4 million people worldwide. And today we are more than 150 employees. Our vision is to accelerate science to save more life. So today, the creation and use of the genomic information is at the inflection point. We are at the point where we have affordable and accessible sequencing technology. We are able to interpret next generation sequencing data. We have expanded our test menu and industry partnership, and we have a global genomic market network of local populations, and our genomic information are driving healthcare decisions. We have the position where we can advance drug discovery. What we do today at Dante Labs is that we use an unbiased approach to analyze and generate more proprietary data. We have developed our Dante platform, which is transforming data into clinically relevant, actionable insights. And we are building a solution that finally it's able to build revenue generation, is to get revenues and building revenue generation solution end to end. But of course, we started our business 5 years ago. And Dante Labs' success started from solving customer problems with simple solutions. And this is what I would like to discuss today with you. And thanks for inviting me. My background and our company background is a scientific background. And Dante Labs was founded in 2018 when two co-founders, one with a strong scientific background and one with a strong business background, meet in New York and decided to launch something new into the e-commerce market, which was genetic testing. And those people, the co-founders, were Italians. They were Andrea Riposati and Mattia Capulli. When they met, they realized that there was a challenge. If a customer in 2018 wanted to get access to a genetic test online, better, a genomic test online, a genomic test, it was almost impossible. And the online and e-commerce market was increasing, and the customer were getting more and more used and addicted to buy things online. And here when Dante Labs' idea started, and the co-founders say, why don't we try to commercialize genomics online? So as you can see, the idea was very, very, very simple. And simple was the start to the execution. On the 1st of January, I had the luxury and the lucky to be employed by Dante Labs as employee number 1. And here where I started the journey of grow with the company. And I've here put some key milestones that have been critical to success of Dante Labs. So as I said, we started with the problem, with the idea of solving customers' problems with simple solution since the day one. And what we did, the day one, we realized that those customers couldn't access genomic data easily. It wasn't possible to access whole genome sequencing data, even if you were a researcher, even if you were a hospital doctor, even if you were a professional. And mostly, there wasn't any solution there that could make this information easy and understandable for everyone. And hence what we said, we decided to launch our Dante Labs e-commerce shop, where we decided to commercialize whole genome sequencing tests for the first time in the world. And we launched these services. And when we started our business, we were a few of us, we were 4 of us, and we decided to invest everything into the interpretation of the data and into making prototypes for easing and streamlining the interpretation of the data for the customers. So we made no CapEx investment. We decided to outsource any services, any cost to suppliers. And we launched our website, our e-commerce website on the 2018. And when we launched our website, I remember very well, after 5 days from the launch of the website, first customers arrived. And when the first customers arrived, we weren't ready at all. We had the kits, but we had no boxes and we had no software ready for delivering the results. But we started selling our services and we knew we had to deliver something to our customers. And that was, I mean, a clear example and a nice story of when, in a startup, you have to believe in your idea, you have to test your idea, but sometimes you have to be careful because in the majority of the time, the customer is not there, but in some cases, if you're lucky enough, there is too much customers and there is a lot of demand. And but anyway, we were very agile. So we managed to find out our solution. We partnered with the global labs in the world to subsidize the sequencing of the samples. We found out a supplier for the bioinformatic analysis. We found out a supplier for the interpretation of the report, and we were able to deliver the first results to the customers. And then we realized that, after a few days from the launch of a product that everybody was telling us, oh, you're crazy. You know what? Nobody wants to buy a genetic test online. We realized that the customer was there. This was in August. In November, what we decided to do, since of the background in Amazon, our co-founder, we decided, okay, we want to be very courageous this year. Let's prepare and let's have our marketing campaign for Amazon Black Friday. So for Amazon Black Friday, we work with the marketing team in order to offer our test online. And it happened that we sold over 1,000 whole genome sequencing in one day. So this was an amazing achievement. And this was a clear example of market validation of our idea. So we realized that the opportunity was there, and we realized that we analyzed the value chain of the process, and we realized that while the supply chain was complicated, but we could find suppliers for the analysis of the samples, we could find analysis for bioinformatics, where there was the lack of a solution, it was into the interpretation of large data at population level. And that's why this finding drove us towards investing our focus and our resources, it were a few resources at that time, into the development of our clinical interpretation tool, Immensa software. While we were building this Immensa software, we were achieving the capabilities to scale up, and we were becoming the first company able to solve this complex problem. We patented the platform and we started talking to other companies who are interested into outsourcing the platform from us. The year after, again, the same date, the same milestone. Amazon Black Friday, we worked very hard on marketing and we sold in one day 10,000 whole genome sequencing. It was a very operationally intense experience, but as said, good problems to have. And we realized that at some point, we had resolved the issue of the interpretation of the data with our Immensa software. We were convinced that we would not have problems with the wet lab analysis of the samples by partnering with our partner worldwide, but it was not like that. When we sent 10,000 samples for carrying out whole genome sequencing to our partners, we realized that it was a huge bottleneck because the world was not ready for accepting the consumer mark genomic for those type of tests. And here is where we realized that we had to build our internal sequencing center. And here where we drove our investment into Italy, where from a small office at third floor, we decided to invest into a 1,000 square meter foot labs, CLIA accredited and ISO 15189 accredited for performing the analysis on our own. Then at the beginning, we were growing a lot. And then there was, COVID came. COVID happened in 2020. And everyone knows COVID was a huge challenge to any small business, any startup business, particularly. No investment opportunity, revenues were getting down. Of course, this type of services were a luxury services, and with COVID causing major problems, we realized that we had to be agile. We had to take a decision. Do we pivot? Do we not to pivot? And we realized that we had to pivot, and we pivoted into COVID. We were ready. We had infrastructure. We are not specialized into COVID and PCR, but we had the opportunity to expand and to pivot all our equipments, resources, and investment into COVID to help the community and help the world managing this big and huge problem of COVID. And that's when what we did, we turned our brand new facility equipped for high throughput whole genome sequencing facility into a massive high throughput COVID sequencing lab for providing surveillance and diagnostic services to the world. We started in Italy, but we have always been thinking about a global market. That's ultimately the advantage of having an e-commerce platform. And here it happened something very, very, that I like it very much because, we applied, we were the example of a company outside the world into a big crisis, world crisis. We applied on the UK government in order to become an official supplier of the UK government. And what happened, we were awarded by the contract from the government in the UK in order to be part of the Lighthouse Lab efforts. Lighthouse Lab was a network that the UK decided to rely upon in order to carry out their large-scale, high-throughput sequencing for the entire population in order to track and monitor the COVID-19 pandemic. And here is what we did. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we built solution for the massive adoption in a competitive market. And here where we provided a lot of innovative solution. One of the most, among many, there are two innovative solutions we provided that were typical of a startup mindset and company that big corporation couldn't do. And that's why I want to focus on one of these, on those two. With Carnival Group, which is a cruise ship company, it's public company, what we did, we provided them a solution. They had the big problem. Their problem was that they couldn't start their business, restart their business with the pandemic, because cruises had the risk of going into multiple countries and having passengers going around when they're visiting countries. So the problem they had, they need to find a solution in order to test the passengers when they were exploring countries. We realized that the customer problem was they need a solution to do PCR testing. There were no PCR testing on the cruise ship so far. We provided Carnival corporations for the first time Dante Labs, Dante Nostrum services. Basically, we start building real-time PCR labs on the ships. Today, we have built 85 labs onto 85 ships across the world. And we invented a new role, which was the molecular naval biologist. And today, we have many employees who are thankfully saying, oh, we are enjoying that experience. And this was one, but I want to focus on the solution we provided to the NHS because it was it is a good example of agility, flexibility, and innovation of a startup mindset. So as I told you, we were awarded by this contract, but how did you get this contract with the NHS? Remember, the problem was we were in Italy, we were not in the UK, but UK need capacity that we had. How did we find a solution? We were very creative. So what we did, we proposed to the NHS that we could have established a warehouse in the United Kingdom in order to receive the samples, the specimen that they would have shipped to us in our warehouse. We would have registered the samples in our warehouse into the UK. We would have ensured that the data were handled within UK. We would have made sure to prepare the samples according to the standards of the industry standards for diagnostics, logistics. And what we did, basically, we took a warehouse in the United Kingdom, and here where we were. In the first days, we happened unboxing packages, preparing samples, and flying samples actually back to Italy, where we could analyze those samples. And we were able to fulfill customer needs of the NHS. Then at the end, it happened that, of course, again, you had to be very agile. And as a startup, we had to be very intelligent about how to go for, how to move next. And here is another important learning that I want to share. Everything can happen during a startup journey and during an entrepreneurship journey, but it's always important to keep the vision, keep your vision, and think about how you can manage short-term needs, but long-term deliverables. And here is what we did. So we realized that, of course, we had to expand our global footprint. We expanded our footprint in UK. After Brexit, delivering samples from UK to Italy wasn't possible anymore. So we realized that we had to invest in UK. So we invested in 2 facilities in UK. One of the main was in Cambridge, where we have been analyzing sequencing samples for the NHS. But then we realized that, okay, we pivot. Pivot was a successful project, but where is the future? Our future is genome data analysis, genome sequencing for drug discovery. And that's what we did. Then, basically we were wise enough in order to separate our, to grow, to scale from, 10 people, we scale up to 150 people. We were under the point where we were able to structure our company and build a department and separate the operations from the innovation. So the operation now is currently keep doing analysis of samples for COVID, while with the innovation team, we are working in order to deliver our vision and our mission, which is save lives through sequencing and data analysis. And here is where we are today. So we have a platform that is at the intersection of several markets. And Dante Labs, we are able to collect and analyze complex data, optimize the interpretation of the data, and deliver personalized medicine. We support large markets in diagnostic, drug discovery, research, and clinical decision. And we have built, basically we have built our software for the interpretation of the data for advanced diagnostics, software for the integration of biology and technology to discover new drug targets into different sectors, among which rare diseases, oncology, and metabolic. And while we are building this software and while we are building these services to our customers, the majority of them are consumer customers and clinics, we are building our proprietary database. This is a description of our major assets. And this is what is our major IP. Why Dante Labs it's better than the others? We are better than the others because by having always our vision towards being able to deliver whole genome sequencing data, we invested our research and development efforts in order to build the platform, this platform that Immensa, that today allow us to analyze 120,000 whole genome sequencing per day, when everyone else can only do 80 whole genome sequencings per day. What are the most important lessons from working at a startup of success? There are many lessons and there are many scars. Here is a list of main learnings I want to share with you today. Number one, you must be passionate about what you're trying to achieve. Passion is the key. Hard times are there, good times are there. If you have passion, you will always keep your efforts towards your vision. You must focus intensely on the opportunity where others see nothing. I remember that every day. I remember every day when I was attending conferences in order to talk to stakeholders and trying to understand where the market opportunities were. I remember when I was interviewing our stakeholders and customers in order to validate our idea of launching whole genome sequencing online, people would say, oh, you are crazy. Nobody wants to get this type of information. We realized that we had to focus intensely on the opportunity where others were seeing nothing. We see a lot. Of course, it's a startup. At the beginning, you have to be flexible. And in a startup, you have to work really hard. Working really hard and enjoying the journey. It's going to be a long journey. Believe in data and trust your gut instinct. That's your concept. Design thinking is very important. Agile methodology are fundamental for a startup when you have to analyze data, but you have to trust your gut instincts. And you need to have a methodology that allow you to try and fill and switch from one model to another before the resources are gone. Be flexible but persistent. Agility is a key factor. And no more than execution, execution, execution. Execution and follow-up are critical to build a successful business and are fundamental for achieving results. Be positive, persevere, and have faith. Positivity is super important. I strongly agree with my colleague before saying that even in tough time and hard time, you have to keep a positive attitude. You have to keep a positive influence on your team. And lately, the last one, but not latest one, is thriving in chaos. Chaos is very common. It's gonna be very common in a successful startup experience. Chaos, it's going to be very hard to manage, but navigating chaos, it's gonna be key to success. So thank you again, and I would be more than happy to answer any question, or please, please just ask, or I don't know, if you want me to focus on any other aspects, just let me know.
Okay, thank you very much, Generoso, for this really interesting and inspiring story. I think you presented very different aspects on the timeline of the whole story. So it was very, very inspiring, I think, for all of us. So are there any questions?
Yes. I have a question. I a little bit did not really understand your product, I think. So you are offering whole genome sequencing to the public, but now also more to governments, right?
Yes.
I don't really see, I mean, the tests for COVID are based on primers, which have been defined because they're specific to the virus genome. And so I don't really see the point why to, I mean, I think it's more complex to analyze whole genomes than just to analyze the virus genome.
Sure. Thanks for this question. Of course, that's why it's very important to discuss. I discuss is about the pivot. What is a pivot? Into the business, pivoting means when you turn your business into another direction for a temporary efforts in order to meet specific requirements or results. And as Dante Labs, we were the whole genome sequencing company, and we were offering whole genome sequencing to the public and to the governments to advance whole genome sequencing for precision health. Then, and we were growing a lot, we were doing a good job in this sector. Then COVID happened, and we realized that there was not anymore the big opportunity. I mean, the opportunity was still there, but it's gonna be a big crisis because, because of COVID, people interest, the sales were going down, and we had to decide what we're gonna do. And we decided to pivot our resources into COVID. And that was an interesting opportunity and a very important time where we had to take a decision. Okay, while we have to keep our vision, let's be flexible and tactically, let's play the best role for the company, which was doing COVID sequencing and COVID PCR testing. So there is no relationship with the whole genome sequencing and COVID. The product was at the first whole genome sequencing for humans, then was real-time PCR for public and government, but now we are back on track with our whole genome sequencing for public and for consumers. I wanted to share this sort of entrepreneurial experience where being agile and being able to understand where the market is and very flexible around your decision, it's very key to success, which is one of the biggest problems with startups.
Thanks for making this a little bit more clear. I think thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one more question. Ivo is asking, so have you considered looking at aging markers from all the data you have? In the long term, it will give you a big advantage.
Yeah, sure, of course. There are many different, several research and development opportunities that we are pursuing, and aging is one. Let's say more than aging, it's longevity. It's one of the biggest interests of our customers.
Okay.
But one question, the data you are analyzing, you do it for your customers. So you are not the owner of these data. You cannot exploit them. The customer has to do it, and you are not able to do anything with it, right?
It depends on the data and depends on what the customers decide to do. When we collect the data, we ask the customers if they want to start and participate into research journeys. And if they say yes, we are allowed to use the data if they're anonymized, and if not, if the data are kept anonymously for research purpose only.
Okay, thank you very much. Any short questions? Because we are running a bit late. If not, I would like to thank first Ivo and then Generoso for really great talks and I think really inspiring stories from their side and their first-hand experience. I wish you good luck with your future work. And now we will continue with the program. And I will announce Dejan Crnomarkovic from Serbia Convention Bureau. And please, Dejan.
Okay. Hello to everyone. I understand you've been working since this morning, so it's great to join you after 8 hours of work. And I'll be giving you just a short presentation about the tourism of Serbia. So I work for the National Tourism Organization of Serbia, Serbia Convention Bureau, that deals with the promotion of our country as a business travel destination. And I don't know if you've been to Serbia or not, so please feel free to ask any questions. I will just now share the screen. You just a second. Okay. So let's start. Can you see? Okay. So basically, Serbia is located in the Southeast Europe, Western Balkans, you name it, nearly 7 million people. The capital is Belgrade, nearly between 1.5 and 2 million people. You can see the basic data about the climate. So we are mostly Orthodox Christians, also Catholics and Muslims and Hebrews. What's interesting is our script is Cyrillic, but also Latin script is being used as well. Our currency is Serbian dinar. These are the main, this is the map of the country with some of the main destinations in terms of conferences. So we have cities, alpine resorts, and spa resorts. So if you happen to be participating in any future live conferences, you might visit one of those destinations. The climate is, we have basically all four seasons, and right now it's raining in Belgrade, so as it should be in autumn. Belgrade, as I said, the capital, is an open-hearted city. It's difficult to say what its main attraction is. You can see some of the buildings and attractions, National Theater, the Republic Square, but the atmosphere is something that most of the people describe as being the most impressive about Belgrade. So it's the people, atmosphere, and food. Some of the attractions are Belgrade Fortress and Kalemegdan Park, which you can see in the pictures. Actually, Belgrade, it's historically located on the confluence of the Sava and Danube rivers, and there's a great fortress. It's a city that's been destroyed and rebuilt throughout history many times. So you can very much experience this tradition, culture, and history of Belgrade. As I said, we are Orthodox Christians in majority. So our first Archbishop is called Saint Sava. So that's the time in the 12th century. And we built this large cathedral temple dedicated to him. It's actually one of the largest Orthodox cathedrals, churches in the world. And finally, it's finished because throughout most of, for example, my work in the tourism, it was a construction site. So people were confused coming to Belgrade when we took them to see this huge, enormous church, which was still a construction site. But now it's covered in mosaic inside, and it's one of the must-sees spots in Belgrade. Serbia is a republic now, but until the end of the Second World War, we used to be a kingdom. So we still have our royal family, Crown Prince Alexander II and his wife. Here you can see them posing for a selfie with a visitor. And they live in a royal complex, which consists of two palaces. One is the royal palace in which they reside, and the other one is so-called White Palace, which can be rented for various events. Both of those palaces can be visited with a tourist guide, and occasionally the crown couple will be there to greet you even. Topola, so there's a mistake here, Topola, sorry. That's actually a little town in Serbia where the royal family originates from. And also we have one memorial church where all the members of the royal family are buried. It's dedicated to Saint George, their patron saint, and it's also covered in mosaic. In the nearby town of Aranđelovac, something different. It's a 5-star spa and wellness resort, so you can combine wellness, culture, and it's also one of the wine regions in Serbia, so a lot of gastronomy in this area of central Serbia. Two main football clubs in Serbia are Red Star and Partizan, and the Red Star, some 30 years ago, actually won the Champions League. At that time it was European Cup and the International Toyota Cup. So what can be visited is also a museum where you can see all the trophies of this club. If we go along the Danube from Belgrade, There's a lot of culture and history. So you have archaeological sites like Viminacium, Lepenski Vir, Golubac Fortress is here on the picture, and actually the Danube. The Danube Gorge is the place where the Danube is the narrowest. And at the beginning of the Đerdap National Park is where the Danube is the widest, some 5 to 6 kilometers wide. So it's very interesting to see and to experience, for example, on a boat ride. In the north of Serbia is a Vojvodina province. It's mostly a flat land, used to be actually the Pannonian Sea. So a majority of food is produced there, but not only food, many interesting things are there. For example, Novi Sad is the second largest city in Serbia, and also one of the fortresses on the Danube. This one is called Petrovaradin, and it's actually one of the largest on the whole, nearly 3,000 kilometers of the Danube. It's quite a different city from Belgrade, I would say. It's more easygoing, relaxed, multicultural, also multi-confessional, and it's only an hour drive from Belgrade. And for youngsters and people that still feel young, it's home to one of the largest music festivals in Europe, and actually voted a couple of times the best large festival in Europe. Exit is called, and it takes place in July, in the month of July, mid-July. Fruška Gora is a national park next to, on the opposite side of the Danube bank from Novi Sad. And it used to be like a spiritual seat of the Serbs in the time of Austria-Hungary. It's also one of the wine regions, and it's historically significant because a famous Treaty of Karlovci was signed there at the end of 17th century. It's an hour drive from Belgrade as well. Naive art, we have two distinctive little towns in Serbia called Kovačica and Jagodina, where painters are actually villagers, just regular people that want to be creative and use their talent. And it's actually one of the, Kovačica is actually one of the museums which was often visited by many famous politicians, artists that came to Serbia. So I would strongly recommend, if you ever have the chance to come to visit. It's an hour and a half drive from Belgrade. Southwestern Serbia, something different. You may have seen, okay, you see the back. My background is actually Uvac River Canyon, and it's one of the most impressive landscapes in Serbia. In the Western Serbia, we have Shargan 8 and Drvengrad. So it's a narrow gauge railway with a little town built by the famous film director Emir Kusturica, and it has accommodation, cinema, conference rooms, and it's in a splendid spot where everything surrounding you is green and really to enjoy and maybe have a meeting or whatever. We have 5 national parks. Đerdap, Fruška Gora, Kopaonik, Tara, and Šar Planina, and 2 biosphere, and the biosphere reserve called Golija Studenica, and also some nature reserves and other things. Kopaonik is the largest ski resort in Serbia, national park, and Tara Mountain is better suited for example, hiking, and as an air spa as well. As far as the cultural resources are concerned, we have 5 inscriptions of the UNESCO World Heritage, mostly medieval monasteries, you can see below. 2 Roman cathedrals, 2 churches, 2 churches, 2 cathedrals, 2 churches, 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 And also this region, whole region, not just Serbia, is famous for the Roman heritage, because all of this used to be a part of the Roman Empire. So actually 17 out of 52 Roman emperors were born on the territory of today's Serbia, and most notable one was Constantine the Great, the founder of Constantinople, that is the Istanbul today. So a lot of heritage that can be not only visited by, but experienced in different team buildings, incentives, and organized tours. So here are just some of the pictures of the UNESCO heritage, Studenica Monastery, as you can see. Felix Romuliana is another one, but an ancient Roman heritage in the eastern part of Serbia, very famous for its mosaics, actually the best preserved mosaics from that period of the Roman Empire. Sopoćani Monastery, famous for its fresco Dormition of the Most Holy Mother of God, actually at one exhibition proclaimed to be the most beautiful fresco in the Middle Ages. And this is actually the first monastery that was inscribed in the UNESCO list in 1979. White Angel is from another monastery that's not UNESCO, but arguably one of the most recognizable motifs in the Serbian medieval monasteries. And it was actually a part of the signal transmitted to space as part of the efforts to search for the extraterrestrial life. Intangible heritage, we have also kolo, traditional folk dance. So do not try this at home. You need an instructor for this, but actually it's like a national dance, and it's being practiced during weddings and different kinds of celebrations. Slava is a tradition that's being celebrated by families, and it's usually dedicated, not usually, but dedicated to the saint patron. So each family has one day in the year when they celebrate their patron saint. Gusle is this instrument, and the tradition of singing gusle is something you can, it's better to search at YouTube so you can hear. It's quite memorable, something very, very unique. Vlakosa village pottery, it's in part of the West Serbia village where specific pottery is being made. So notable, most famous Serbs, one is contemporary, and his name is Novak Djokovic. He's our most successful tennis player and sports ambassador of Serbia. And the other one is on the 100 dinars banknote. His name is Nikola Tesla. He was born on the territory of today's Croatia, but became basically an American inventor and scientist. And these are just some of the things that he's famous for, his inventions. I mentioned Exit Festival, but also we have during summer Nishville Jazz Festival, Guča Trumpet Festival, and Belgrade Beer Fest. So the most notable ones during the months of July and August. If you happen to come in, for example, August is where the latter three are, you won't be sorry, you will have a great time. Preferably when this pandemic is over, of course. And I would recommend, since we are very limited with time, I understand, and for you to visit the YouTube channel of the National Tourism Organization of Serbia. You will see some short movies about the Danube, about gastronomy, Soul Food Serbia. I recommend this one and others, so you can get to know the country better. Yeah, so that's it for me. If you have any questions, please, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Dan. Is there any questions?
There was one red thing they was harvesting in, I don't know, in the northern region, I think. What was it?
Those are, it's paprika, actually peppers.
Ah, okay.
So they can be hot. Those ones are, I think, hot, but actually from them, okay, can you? There is ajvar. So paprika is being minced and then cooked for some time. And it's usually like a tradition of many. Okay, yes. So Ivo, yeah. Okay, I didn't say it's Serbian, but the cuisine in the Balkans is very similar. Of course, there is a lot of paprika and ajvar in Macedonia, but people make it as well in other countries in this region. So a lot of the same dishes, similar names and stuff like that. So please do visit not only Serbia and Belgrade, but the entire region. I'm sure you will have an unforgettable adventure.
Okay, hello, Dan. I
Hello.
didn't have opportunity to say hi. Just to check if there are some more questions about ajvar or any other delicious food from Balkan countries. My favorite food are gomboce, which are noodle with plums inside. And gomboc is traditional Serbian food with Hungarian title. So all Balkan cuisines are a huge mixture of real, how to say, hedonist delights, let's say.
So the greatest shame for us as your hosts is that you go hungry, that you go home hungry. So that's something that must never happen. And whether you're vegetarians or not, I'm sure that there are delicacies to taste and really to enjoy your time here.
Thank you, Dan, very much. I would like, before finishing this today's workshop, I guess you are quite tired because it was very long and intensive. I would like just to ask all participants to fill evaluation form. I put a link to chat, I think for third or fifth time. And after completing it, we can just thank again to all participants and all lecturers. And I hope next time we will have opportunity to meet in person. Because after then, you will, I guess, agree with me, after this workshop, we would like to invite you to some perfect restaurant in Skadarlia or somewhere else.
We thought that it would be. Actually, we thought that it would be in person, but last minute went online.
Yeah, unfortunately. Next time. Okay, if that's all, thank you again. I hope you enjoyed today's workshop, and take care, of course.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye, everyone.
Do widzenia.